What's going on, everyone? It's Bales, and welcome back to another episode of AFL Fantasy Head2Head, where we put two players up against one another, see who we'll be picking in our sides for 2024. This is episode 18 of the series. We're nearing episode 20, which is fantastic. We're almost double the episodes from last year, which is fantastic. But if you haven't checked out the other 17 episodes, make sure you go and do that, either on the YouTube video or on the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to like and subscribe and 5-star ratings, reviews, and all that good stuff that you guys do. Appreciate all the support. But we continue the theme with the special guests, talking about another colour players game. And joining me is one of the co-founders of the coaches panel, and just recorded a 50 Bros relevant video with him. If you haven't checked out that series, make sure you do. I'm sure that you'll have done anyway. But if you haven't, what are you doing? But it is MJ from the coaches panel. Mate, how are you?
Mate, it's nice to see you. Pleasure to be jumping on this great content series that you've been doing and helping people make those really tough 50-50 decisions. We're getting close to that with opening round and the practice games not too far away. We're getting down to these 50-50 calls, and a series like this helps us put a couple of guys head to head and helps us kind of land which way we should go.
Yeah, exactly right. And by the time this is uploaded, we're sort of right in the thick of. I think it's going to be. I think this is actually the. Believe that the day this because record this about a week or so in advance, but I reckon this is going up actually the day after the first match simulations and stuff like that are getting underway. So yeah, we're right in the thick of it, and it's fantastic, and that's what we love. And we're talking about two defenders today. Both got buys. So it's going to be very interesting to chat about that after sort of we've sort of unpacked both these players and sort of just chat about them just on their own. But we're talking about Lachie Whitfield and Jayden Short, who are both coming in as a little bit underpriced based on what we've seen. And I'm going to remember this time. I do sometimes forget, but we are going to say the price and ownership. So price for Jayden Short is $835K. With 1.71% ownership there. So very, very lowly owned there. And Lachie Whitfield, very similar, $855K, a little bit more expensive, but also only 3.23% owned. So we're talking about a couple of pods here and could be someone that you put in your team. So MJ, we'll talk about Lachie Whitfield first, and then we'll go to Jayden Short, and then we'll probably talk a little bit about the sort of the buy thing and what our thoughts are on them. So we'll start with Lachie Whitfield being the most expensive player. So Lachie Whitfield, most people go, nah, I'm not going to start him. There's always something that goes wrong. And you've probably got a fair case to say that, right? There's always seems to be some unfortunate thing that happens with Whitfield, whether it be a suspension, whether it be a concussion, whether it be, I don't know, he maybe get sick the day before. Like there's always seems to be something that goes with Whitfield. So if we look at his games played, so from his debut season in 2013, he's only played over 20 games on 4 occasions out of his, I believe that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, I think 11 or 12 seasons he's played in the AFL. So not great when you look at that. And he's had a lowest of 11 games. It was in 2014. And obviously his high was actually last year. Last year he played 24 games. Can you believe? That's obviously including when they played a couple of those finals games as well. So obviously missed a couple through suspension and a concussion. But that was actually his first time he's played that. And then the last time was 2018 where he played 24 games. But he's been a great scorer. We've known this. He's been a good scorer in defence. He's averaged over 90 in every season since 2017. And obviously 85.9 in the COVID year. If you obviously round that up, that's well over 90 and closer to, I think it's actually over 100 in that year. So yeah, he's been a very, very good scorer. And when he's been on the park, like even last year, we look at some of these scores he put up. His start of the year was pretty quiet. He only had one big game. That was against the Western Bulldogs in round 8, where he scored a 130. Had a lot of 80s around there as well. A lot of people jumped on him around this time because he had that concussion game, came back a few 80s, dropped in price and came in cheap. But it was really from his bye onwards where he really did well. And he had a few extra weeks off, mind you, with the suspension, with I think it was a dangerous tackle against Fremantle. I can't remember the exact play. It might have been Bailey Banfield, if I remember correctly. If anyone knows, let us know in the comments below, actually, if I've got that correctly. But yeah, he went from round 17, he's got an 81. But after that point is when he went on a bit of a tear. So he went 101, 106, 134, 77, 87, 102, 119 in the remaining games. And obviously in the finals, he also went 99, 125, and 86. So he went really well in the back half of the year. And in excess of 100, being priced at in around 94.7, so just under 95, you could be looking at 5 to 10 points of upside if he can go really well. So, MJ, I'll go to you to ask you about Lachie Whitfield here. He's one of the main guys back there, but you've also got Lockie Ash, you've got Harry Himmelberg, you've got, I know guys that even like a Connor Ryden take some +6s, Sam Taylor and guys. There's a few mouths to feed back there. How do you see Whitfield's usage playing out back there? Because with a few mouths to feed back there, it might not just be all of sort of his ball back there. So just talk to me how you see that sort of playing out in 2024.
I think it's only a positive thing for Lachie Whitfield. So much of the Giants year was really fumbly at the start of the year, not just for Whitfield. You mentioned some of those interruptions, that concussion that came through there. But as the year went on, they started to look like the GWS Giants of old, back to that 2017, 2018, 2019, where they made the grand final that season, where it was just that orange tsunami of run and carry, the spread and speed and ball use. And Lachie Whitfield was central for that. And in AFL fantasy for us last year, only as the season went on did Whitfield start to show that dominance. So I know they've got some really nice users back there, but to me, Whitfield is clearly still the quarterback. They love the ball in his hands. So even if he's not taking those kick-ins, which he does take an okay share, it's certainly not a lion's share, but he's got an okay look at it. The fact is they want the ball in his hand to rebound outside 50, to penetrate that ball up through the wings, through the center corridor, and ultimately try to translate to scoreboard impact. So, yep, they got some good options. Whitfield's still the best, though.
Yeah, and I fully agree. I think we did see a bit of an emergence of Lachie Ash last year and looked quite good as well. But I think if you opposition teams and Giants are still going to be looking at Whitfield and thinking he's our main guy back there. He's obviously still got a great kick. I think he's kicking. I don't know if you saw MJ last year. His first half of the year, I remember hearing comments in the commentary like David King and a few other guys would say like Whitfield's not looking the same. His kicking's not as penetrating as what it was. He's missing a few targets. Whereas that back half of the year, he seemed to really sort of up that and really hit a lot more targets, even get forward and sort of take maybe 2 or 3 like +6s in a chain and transition. So I don't have the exact stat. Jayden, if you're watching, mate, if you want to put in the comments below and put a tweet out saying what Whitfield's transitional points were in the back half of the year, I'd be interested to see what those numbers are. But he really did up that. So that would be sort of very, very interesting to see how he goes in 2024. But if you put a number on MJ, what do you see him averaging? Obviously, being priced at 95, we could be getting a bit of value here. With a few mads to feed, do you think he goes under 95 where he's priced at? Do you think that he's maybe goes around that 100, 105 mark? Whereabouts do you see his average landing, obviously, before we've seen any preseason action?
Look, I'd probably say he's a 95 with a 5 points of deviation either side along that. I'm not too sure that you mentioned some of those mouths to feed component, but also I think just the way I think that GWS expect that midfield core to dominate the game even more. I think 95 is about as low as he goes. 90 would be a disaster in my eyes. And certainly, as you mentioned at the top of the episode, historically, he just doesn't drop under that in this role. I think 100 is definitely within him. But if he dominates the games like he did at the back half of the year, opposition teams looking to stop the rebounding defender, which Whitfield is, because Ash is the run and carry guy. Whitfield is run and carry and elite decision-making by foot and by hand. So if you're going to stop any rebounder out of the Giants, it's probably him. And so I think that might just mean those dominant 130 games, he'll give us a couple, probably might just mean we get some 70 basement games due to a tag. So yeah, I'd say 95 is about right, with 5 points either way, with 100 probably being the peak of what he'll hit.
Yeah, I've pretty much got him exact same as well. I've got him about that 97, 98. So roughly right in the middle there. And as you say, if he gets a 90, it's not, unfortunately, not the pick you're after. But if you can go 97, 90, I think it's a decent pick. And we'll obviously unpack the buys in a sec as well. But if you look at his early run as well, and people probably know this as well, Giants have got a very nice early run. Obviously, Tom Green, we spoke about that with my other fantasy fanatic, Tim. If you haven't checked the episode, make sure you're doing the other episodes that we've got up there. But Whitfield plays Collingwood in opening round. So again, we get a look. We get to see what he looks like. Then he's got North Melbourne and West Coast, right? Those two. He's got the bye, Gold Coast, and then St Kilda. So a very, very nice cushy run to start, especially for those half-backers as well. So Whitfield could put some massive scores on the board early. And again, we'll probably discuss that a little bit in a sec as well when we talk about the buys. But we'll go to Jayden Short now, MJ. So we'll go to you for Jayden Short. How do you think he's going to go in 2024, and why should people be selecting him in their starting sides? Removing the bye for a second.
Absolutely. If you remove the bye, just look back at the past 4 seasons. He's one of the most consistent 90-plus defenders going around. We've got a 92.5 with an injury-impacted game. We've got a 97.8, a 93, and another mid-90s in that COVID-affected season. That the further away we get from it, the further it is to be able to use that to justify anything. But the straight up is he's a consistently 90 plus defender scoring option for us. Even last year in a system that wasn't really highly rewarding for him, he still gave us 6 tons last year with a top score of 123. And he just kept finding ways to push and to push and to push into that scoring. So I look at this guy who is clearly the central rebounder. He's clearly the best user of the ball, and he's now coming off 4 consecutive seasons of going 90 plus across the formats. Why? Because he is that run and carry player. He is that key distribution unit, and he's shown he's got ceiling about him. If you just look at what he did from round 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 last year. Let me read out his scores to you, because again, you highlighted that there's not a whole lot of people talking about him. Let me tell you numbers without telling you names, although the name's Jordan Short, just for argument's sake. 117, 123, 102, 113, 99, 102, 85, and 103, and a 95 just to throw into that. So ceiling, consistency, unique, which is always helpful for you if you're looking to create some separation. And something when I did an episode with Rids on him in the 50 most relevant, we've spoken about both of these players through that series, is he's got a really low kind of market share opportunity given the way Richmond have played under a Damien Hardwick. They weren't a highly fantasy relevant team for us. It was the odd centre bounce midfielder and Jayden Short off half back. But he was still in a role where he wasn't getting a lot of kick-ins. He wasn't getting a heap of transition marks due to their run, gun and surge style of play. He was still managing to score, like I said, 4 years consecutively of 90 plus defending role for us. If he picks up just 1 or 2 kickouts per game, if that game style adjusts to be the way it sounds like they're trialing and training, which is much more penetrating use of the ball and retention of the ball by foot, then all of a sudden, Short at worst is this low 90s guy. At best, he gets to where I think we've hoped he would be, which is that 105 guy. So to me, I look at that. I look at the early fixture. Again, we'll come to the buys in a second, but even just through matchups they've got rolling through, they've got Sydney, they've got St Kilda, they've got West Coast before that bye. There are some tougher matchups in there early, but 3 of the 5 games that count for us from an AFL fantasy perspective historically are some of the best matchups that we could possibly ask for defenders. So I look at that with Jayden Short and go, consistency of 90s, got the role, he's not losing that. There's an opportunity for scoring growth just through evolution of game style, let alone if he can pick up some kick-ins. And we know that under Adam Uze, even though he was only a senior assistant coach, had his hands all over that Melbourne game style. I can see a pathway where Jayden Short at worst is what he is, where at best, you've got yourself a 100 defender here.
Yeah, and we saw glimpses of that. I believe it wasn't last year. I think was it the year before, I think, when they trialled him in the midfield a bit. But the start of the season he was averaging like mid hundreds, and it was just like really like 105, like around that 105 mark, which you speak about. And if he could do that, I think even with the buy, if he was to go and average 105, being a guy that's priced at 830 odd K and being priced at an average of what is it? Yeah, 92.5. You're getting 13 points of upside. That's a massive swing, especially as a defender. So that can certainly change things if you're that bullish on him. But so we will turn to the buys. But before we do, I will sort of just get our thoughts on who we'd pick in the battle first, removing from the buys, and then we'll talk about the buys and whether you can start them. So MJ, out of Lachie Whitfield and Jayden Short, who would you be picking out of the head-to-head battle to start in your side for 2024?
The buy becomes a really deciding factor. So it's hard not to include it into the mix, but I'll do my best to kind of take it out because I think that probably defines for me a little bit. I'll put it this way. I'm not a Nick Dacos D1 guy in AFL fantasy. Maybe we'll get to him in the 50 most relevant, but I know there's been lots of conversations throughout the preseason about him, but I'm not a Nick Dacos start at D1. I understand the narrative for it. To me, I've got Tom Stewart at D1 because I feel like he's got the fixture, he's got the ceiling, he plays through those early buys. He's in at D1 for me. But if Tom got injured, I'd be going to Jayden. Jayden would be who I would put through there. I've got the most confidence with that. So for me, I'd lean to Jayden over Whitfield, and not being able to mention the buys, kind of makes it hard to give a full explanation of why.
Yeah, I know. And that's what I'm trying to say hard, because we will unpack, because there will be people that, I guess, maybe choose between them in draft. Maybe they like, do I draft Whitfield or Short? So this might help them more removing the buys. But I think I've got to side the other way. I think there hasn't been many sort of split opinions on this, and it's not really split. It's because I don't think I'm going to start either personally, but I'm going Lachie Whitfield. I think that the early fixtures would really help, especially if you're starting in Classic as well, and draft as well could be really handy, especially if you have a VC on him or something like that. But I'm just siding with Jayden Short. But I think Jayden Short has got the more upside. I think he's got the higher. I think he can average 105 if everything goes to plan. I think Whitfield's probably capped at 105, and probably more realistically, probably about that low hundreds, like that 100, 100, 102 if everything goes right. So, but we will turn our attention now to the buy discussion. So, the buys opening round is throwing the spanner in the works, and obviously there's been a lot of discussion through preseason and different opinions and everything like that. But these two are very fascinating because they've both got different buys, which could change strategy. You've got Whitfield's got a buy in round 3, which means he only plays 2 games free, has a buy. And then Jayden Short hasn't got a buy to round 6. So you might be able to that might be a bit easier to navigate. So MJ, talk to me about where you sit with starting either of these guys inside. Because at the moment, Whitfield's currently sitting as my D2, but I don't know if he's going to be there come round 1. Again, a 150 opening round could change that. But how do you see it playing out? Is it more feasible to start a premium round 6 that's got a buy instead of one that's got round 3? Let me know what your thoughts are on that.
I think what a player that has a buy at round 6, which he does, it gives us more data. It gives us more looks to be able to see what's going on. So we get to know over the first 10 trades that we've made into our team, or 8 trades that we've made in our team. Up to that point, we get to know, what are the mid prices doing? And do we need to jump off or on certain ones? Did we get the right cows? Have we suffered a bullet early with an injury or a suspension early on? And so by moving some visibility out to round 6 with a Jayden Short as opposed to a Whitfield, because you give yourself more data to look and see. Equally, if he's firing, you're not jumping off that at all. You're flying because you know what's moving. So you're giving yourself more to consider. Whereas at round 3 with a Whitfield is you've got 2 bites of the cherry and then you're in decision mode. If he's delivered at 110, it does feel hard to jump off that. Whereas if he goes an 80-80, okay, the decision's there. What you can get with a Short is you can watch those few games, watch a Whitfield fly out of the gate. You can watch a Tom Stewart if you're not on him dominator, Hayden Young if you're not going there, or a Sinclair or Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller. Short's at that slightly more discounted or cheaper price point, even if he is your D1. If you nail all these options in other spots, you've got the flexibility to trade him if you want at D1. So you get to round 3, you're like, oh no, Short's only going 90, 95, 85. Got to jump off that. You can make those easy moves. If a Kitty Coleman's firing, you can make that move really easy. So for me, I'm always big on the correctional trades early, set up your season. And with Short, you're not telegraphing a potential forced trade early in the year. As good as that matchup is for Lachie Whitfield, I look at Short and go, I give myself more time to consider. I give myself a comparable scorer at a slightly discounted price. I put all those elements together. And for me, that's why I land on Short.
Yeah. And even just saying that now makes me almost think, do I go Short over Whitfield in the pick? But I'll stick by my decision. But it is interesting because the round 3 is you only get 2 games of data. So Whitfield goes a couple of 90s. You go, was that just matchup? And he's got easy matchups. So do I keep him? Do I trade him? You don't know. Whereas as you say, Jayden Short, you got that more data. You can go, if he puts up good scores and is a 105, 100 to 105 guy, you're like, great, I'll bench him for a week. Maybe some people got a Dan Curtin on the bench or someone like that can come on and cover for a week. But if he's getting these 80s, 90s, you can just sideways him to a Nick Dacos. Nick Dacos got the buy in round 5. You can just go get Dacos in round 6. I know he's got Port Adelaide, not the best matchup, but you're going to want Dacos in your team at some point. That could be the avenue. Maybe you go to a Tom Stewart. Maybe you go to a Jack Sinclair if he's maybe dipped in price. Maybe Sicily's dipped in price. You get that landscape of the defense. And I think that the talk with the buys and you can't start premiums, I think you don't start midfielders, I think, over 950K. I think we can, or probably 900K. I think A lot of people like that's midfield. That's where you score the most points. You can start. There's plenty of good options that don't have buys at all, and there's only a few of those midfielders. But I think forward and defenders, I think, is a little bit different just because there aren't as many options. So it is a very good point you raised there with Jayden Short, and certainly he's been on my watch list, but he might raise a few spots on the watch list after hearing some of this discussion here. So, that's been a great episode of the Head2Head. Let us know in the comment section below if you guys are starting either Lachie Whitfield or Jayden Short, regardless of the buys, or if you're taking the buys on account, you're starting him anyway. Let us know in the comments below, and any other general questions, put it in the there as well. Make sure to leave a like on the video as well and subscribe to the channel. If we can get 50 likes on the video, that'd be very much appreciated. It'd be fantastic. We reach that milestone as we head towards 2,000 subscribers. We're nearing 1,500, but that'd be the first goal. Then 2,000 by the end of the season would be fantastic. But MJ, mate, thank you very much for jumping on this episode of AFL Fantasy Head2Head. Where can the people find you on the socials as well? And then where can also people find the coaches panel on the podcast on YouTube? And then also you want to touch on the Patreon as well. So a few things to touch on, but far away, the red cup is yours.
Yeah, happy to. You can find me on Instagram or X at @MJWant is where you can find me personally. But the coaches panel, and there's a group of incredible content creators that I get to be a part of on X, on Instagram, on Facebook. Just simply search for @coaches panel. You'll be able to find us there. Throughout YouTube, that are broadcasting and dropping every single day new videos, whether it be the 50 most relevant or a bunch of strategy episodes. And then wherever you find your podcast, just simply search for the coaches panel. You can find that again. Daily podcast dropping every single day in the preseason. And if you have loved either what you've just heard over these past few minutes, hi, nice to meet you if I've never met you before, or if you're a regular part of what we've done over the past few years with the 50 most relevant, the midweek roundtable strategy episodes. Our Patreon, all the details for that is just patreon.com/coaches panel. Tiers from as little as $2 a month right up to the $10 a month. A heap of rewards from Keeper League podcasts. You get round table discussions, in-season review episodes, hidden access to a bunch of other groups, strategies, videos, and articles. Heap of stuff through there, and all of the coaches panel boys jumping in. So we'd love you to jump in on that if you can, but definitely jump in and support Bales. He's doing a great job with these head-to-heads as well. So please make sure if you haven't subscribed to this channel, do that. It makes a huge difference. And, kick him a coffee or a beer if you can as well.
Thanks, mate. Very much appreciated. But get around the Patreon for the coach panel guys, because do a lot of hard work over there, and at the end of the day, it does help them out a lot. So make sure you get involved as well, and go to the top tier. But if you can only do a little one, that's fine. Just get involved; it'd be great. But you can find me at BalesDT on Twitter /X and Instagram. And make sure also if you're listening to this as a podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. That'd be very much appreciated. We might read some out before the season starts as well if we get some reviews there. We've got, I think, 4 reviews there. So we haven't had any this preseason. So if you are watching right now, yes, you, if you can just leave us a review and rating, it takes not even 30 seconds. Well, it takes 30 seconds to a minute. Be just very much appreciated. But if not, we just appreciate everyone that's tuned into the episodes. But in the next episode, we have another special guest continuing the theme on, and it'll be another couple of players with a certain Keeper League specific person, but he also dabbles a bit in classic. We're jumping on the pod and we're chatting about a couple of premium midfielders that probably haven't gotten as much chat in the preseason as much as what other options have had, but it'd be very interesting to discuss them and see if we can consider them as options in 2024. But until that episode, we're out, and we'll catch you in the next one. So we're out. Cheers.